Okie dokie. Welcome to the second podcast of Mariana and Joe reading books.
Reading books. Love it.
Or is that the title? What is the title of this podcast?
I think reading books is good because we're not limited to a author or even a time period or even a type. I mean, today we're doing a graphic novel, so that's reading. You know, we can call that a book, I think, loosely, although I do have some issues with that. But yeah, reading books until a better name is suggested or we come up with a better name. Let's go with that.
Can you think of any clever portmanteaus or alliterative
book talk?
Book talk.
Book pod. Books and pods.
Okay, we'll have to revisit clever names at a later time.
Yeah, don't put me on the spot.
This is episode 2 from the last hit episode of the William Faulkner shitstorm clusterfuck of As I Lay Dying. So, and that last time was your choice, and now this time was my choice. Which is a book that I had heard of, and you know, on the internet now you can read, you can find them easily, and the experience is really good. It's Batman Year One, the graphic novel. Mm-hmm. So I bought it. I found it on Amazon, and so the comic books come in these square panels of drawings and text, but yeah, you can read them now by clicking panel by panel. So it's like the scenes shift on your tablet or on your computer. So what did you think of reading a comic book on the internet?
Well, I never read many comic books. I think when I was little, maybe I bought an Archie and Veronica once in a while, but I never bought any of the Marvel or DC comics, of course, because I'm not a boy. But I since it was the first time that I read a graphic novel, I really tried to pay attention to the graphics, and they were real clear on my computer. And I just scrolled right through. It was good. There were 4 chapters in this book, and I found it interesting. I read the whole thing from start to finish, and so it was interesting to me that they had one writer, one artist, one colorist, and one printer. And so much work going into this. I was surprised.
Yep. Back in the old days when it was Stan Lee and another dude, Jack Kirby or something, they would just be drawing maniacs and cranking out these comics and on the verge of bankruptcy through the whatever 40s or 50s.
Well, this is one of my questions. These, according to the introductory material on this graphic novel about Batman, it said these things premiered in 1939. So what do you know about the history of that? Is it, why did Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman come to be at that time? What do you have any historical perspective you can shed light on there?
I don't know. All I know is that I know Mickey Mouse was I think he was invented in 1930s, and there were animated, no audio cartoons that would appear before movies that kids would, it became a family thing where adults and kids could bring their, go to the movies together, I guess. And then Disney hit the home run of making cartoons with the sound and the animation synced up together. So, they would, of course, Captain America was a hero who fought Nazis, which was topical then. And the Hulk was another Marvel character who got hit by radiation, which was a fear of, nuclear testing and nuclear bombs. But but DC was more traditional, I guess. Like Superman is just the guy who can do anything. Like in the daytime, he's just a nerd, a wimp who has to be dropping his papers and wearing glasses, which I'm sure at that time period wearing glasses was a sign of just total no manhood back then.
Yeah, total nerdery. Yeah, he was a milquetoast. But I think that it must have something to do with being on the eve of war and watching Nazism rise in Europe, and also 9 years into the Depression that, and of course the artists came. Timing is everything, but why these superheroes blossomed during that particular time. It's got to be a confluence of, the increased scientific age and looming war and, this huge global depression that had been going on for so long. It's got to be that because, this is a real save me. Everything's out of control. These superheroes. And so it's got to be that combination of events. That's as deep as I thought.
Another thing I'm thinking of now is how I remember another book about a book I read about a guy who was eager to go to Vietnam, that when he was growing up as a young boy, all that was on TV was like cowboys and Indians and war. So soldiers climbing over hills and just dying heroically and like clutching each other and, being heroes and stuff. So that's maybe easy to produce for TV. But comics, they didn't have probably budgets, and there was no evidence. Like, when we make a TV show about what? How do we, not till the 60s, I guess, the campy Adam West Batman show came out. But maybe in the 40s or 50s, all they had was comics. If you wanted an alternative to westerns and war, maybe same with like sci-fi, like Alien books were comics and horror. Like a big thing with comics was like Frankenstein, Dracula, all those traditional things, because the only way to experience it was through these cheap, like 10-cent comic books.
Yeah, and they always had. Gee, this is getting off onto a history lesson. They always had like penny pamphlets or something like that tell of the adventures of we heard about the heroes of the West doing that. But this addition of graphics, the addition of creating these, strong images, maybe is something that added to it at this time. I looked at the graphics. I thought the graphics. I wanted to look at this because Batman is so dark. Superman. You see him in common everyday activities. He's kind of nerdy. He changes his clothes in a phone booth in the middle of the day. But everything about this comic, everything about Batman is dark, 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 dark. Everything happens at night. And, usually it's in the rain, but it's everything at night. Yeah,
it's funny. Also in this book, a guy explains Superman is... I actually, no, before I even remember the Superman, everyone complains, like, how do you not tell it's him with the glasses on, glasses off? It's because today, a person with glasses and no glasses, there's no, not really anymore a identity associated with it, but like maybe back then, a man with glasses is like I don't know, like almost a woman or something. Like, oh, I don't even see this guy. He's just like,
all you see are the glasses. Yeah, you just see the glasses and you just think a total dweeb.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. So that's his disguise, right? And so I think that's another interesting factor about these superheroes is why they necessarily have to have a disguise. It wasn't until Iron Man, the movies, he said, Robert Downey Jr. said I'm Iron Man. But everybody else has a disguise. Well, maybe not Captain America, I guess. Yeah, he was all right. But I don't know why these guys have to be in disguise. And I don't know why Batman has to be so dark. I don't know what's going on there with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, yeah, of course you want to keep your identity secret because most humans have other people in their life that if their enemies could get their hands on them, then they would have leverage on you, and no matter what superpower you have, you would be useless because all your powers are gone. But Iron Man, he's totally cocky, and the traditional hero like Captain America puts everybody else first, but Iron Man's like, I can do whatever I want. I'm untouchable. And so
I see. Yeah.
The end of Iron Man 1, he just tells everyone that, and then Iron Man 2, they blow up his house, which is this huge cliffside mansion, and he doesn't have any kids, but they do almost blow up his girlfriend, and he sends his armor away from him and attaches to her to like protect her a few times, or maybe it's Iron Man 3 or something. But so this is Batman Year One, which is 50 years into the existence of the character, and it's 1987. And according to the intro, the board of DC realized that their characters are out of date and they need to revitalize all their characters, and so they called on this guy Frank Miller, who was seen as the best writer in the business, and he became famous for taking a kind of not so popular Marvel character called Daredevil, who is this blind guy who can jump around and beat up people like a ninja, and he made that into a really popular character. So they swiped Frank away from Marvel and they got him to write some Batman, which totally, even today, almost about 35 years later in the movies, Batman with Christopher Nolan, you can see Frank Miller's version is totally in the movies.
Well, I read the introduction as well, and I think it said something about how they updated Wonder Woman and Superman, but they decided not to try and update Batman. They kept him the way he was, but they tried to enrich his first year or go deep. So I have some questions. I have some questions about Batman. First of all, I want to know what his motivation is, because his motivation seems to be primarily revenge, because his parents were killed by a criminal, and so he's seeking revenge on all criminals. But the other thing is, where has he been for the past 12 years? Because he's returning to Gotham. Gotham corrupt from top to bottom. Horrible, horrible place. He's returning after a 12-year absence. So where has he been? And do we know what his ultimate primary motivation is?
So I think, it's a typical thing. It's covered. He gets a lot of training from his mystical journeys and travels, and that's what's kind of convenient. Of every time he would have a new villain, whatever the theme of the villain is, there would be flashbacks of like, this reminds me of my training in Africa with like psychedelic drugs they did there, and this is similar to that. So everything as he'd move forward could relate to his never-ending encyclopedia of experience he's had. But so this one, he just said like, we know he's that he can fight, and he's rich, so he can get tools. And Frank Miller said that a hero is least interesting when he is effective. So this one was where he fails like over and over again, and he is kind of cocky, and so I think that's kind of good. They don't really, he's gone, and then he comes back and he thinks he's ready, and he's got some devices, he's got some tools, and he can punch and kick, and like that's it.
Yeah, I noticed that they don't go into the history of how they developed the tools, or how this came to be, or what the materials are for anything. And they also just kind of throw in that Alfred has this combat nursing training, so he can fix any wound, even a nicked artery. He can do anything. They bypassed all that stuff and just tried to go a little bit more in his sort of Batman's coming of age and deciding that he's ready. And over the process of this year, it seemed to me.
Yeah, that's another convenient thing. Alfred also has a inexhaustible encyclopedia of experiences and things to advise Bruce about, And it's always funny whenever the scene where he comes back, he's like, "Oh, welcome home." And then Alfred's like, "Oh yeah, welcome. I've been here the whole time." But it seems like, well, when did Alfred get all these experiences? If he was taking care of Bruce as a boy, then he's gone. It's like, then Alfred become the ass kicking butler who can like do things?
He's got skills. That guy.
Yeah, like it's so funny because of course the thing Batman has is the Bat computer, which is technology better than anybody else can have. And then when Batman's away, he always says, "Alfred, send me the information on this." And Alfred's like, "Yep, got it right here." And like he can work the computer as well as Bruce himself.
Yep, pretty handy. Sort of like Pepper with Iron Man. The whole rich thing. The whole that struck me as well. In this horrible, corrupt Gotham, there's also definitely the haves and the have-nots. And Bruce Wayne, of course, is a have because he enters the city on a plane, and poor Gordon, lieutenant or sergeant, he's not Commissioner Gordon yet, he comes in on the train. Mm-hmm. And so that highlights that difference between the haves and the have-nots. And they have to, Bruce Wayne has to sort of save the entire city, corrupt from top to bottom.
Yep, that's true. The book begins with each segment showing the date of the year, because the book is across a year. And so January 4th, James Gordon is coming into the city on the train. It's full of people, and he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's like, "Oh my God, can I handle this? I would never let my wife come with me on here. She's flying in." And then the next panel is Bruce is in an maybe private airplane saying, right, I should have taken the train so I can I'm going to show these people. Like he can't wait to just, kick ass right from the start.
He must have weighed in. Yeah. So let's look, looking at that train graphic. Do you remember that train graphic, that interior train graphic with Gordon sitting on the seat? And your eye goes to the light color. And the light color is his white shirt and this woman nursing a baby next to him.
I remember that. Yep.
What is up with that? I don't, your eye goes there directly, and I thought, why did the artist decide to put a nursing mother on a public train? Is this indicative of the end of civilization, that women are nursing babies on public transit? I didn't understand that at all, so then I thought, maybe Gordon is reminded of his wife, who's apparently taking pregnancy tests, and he hopes she's not pregnant. He doesn't want to bring a baby into this horrible world. And that maybe the job of the nursing mother was to remind him of his wife. But no, he doesn't think that. He's thinking this is a hell. I'm going into hell, and I wouldn't want to bring my wife here, which of course are those, noble qualities, just trying to protect his wife. But I didn't understand why that nursing mother was in there. You have any clue there? You have any insight?
I think, that's that could be it. Yeah, Gotham is always seen as like, the intro even says that Batman became popular, quote, because it, quote, mirrored the fears, frustrations, and hopes of a readership coping with the realities of a 20th century urban life. Yeah. And so that could be like no privacy, like super crowded, like dirty, like no time, always busy, always working and hustling. So maybe just like, the most whatever sacred thing of a mother and a baby is just even she is jammed into this train. Okay. And trying to survive. Okay. Even she's struggling with survival with this seemingly most decent, or what you would think humans would be like, okay, this has to be, as you reacted, come on, this, yeah, even this, yeah. And Gotham's like, yep, and even that, because it looks nice on the surface. Gotham looks nice on the surface, but it's just you get down into it, and it's just totally corrupt, just awful, just teeming with corruption, from the mayor on down, and every institution, the politics, the law enforcement, and the church, all of them corrupt. Yep, and even. Like we were talking about before, so Gordon hasn't even started the job yet, and he's already seeing it as like insurmountable, because he has a weakness, which is his family or potential family he's like, what even can I do if I can just, like, there's a limit to what I'm going to do. Like, I can't, I can have the intention, but if they come after me, like, I will lose. And then Bruce is like up above, like, I'm just gonna nail this.
Yeah, he's pretty he's pretty self-assured. Although, yeah, he's pretty self-assured. I found that image really disturbing, because looking at it from a woman's perspective, I wasn't as generous as you. I thought, what is going on here? That, the casual sexism that's throughout this book is pretty blatant, and I find it pretty offensive. But I didn't think of it from your terms, which is a good thing about podcasts and talking to somebody about books, because I didn't see it the way you saw it, but I think that you've enlightened me somewhat, and I think that's a good read on this picture. That was very disturbing.
Yeah, I remember it. I didn't really think about it until you brought it up, that maybe that's why. I could see that, though. I want to think of the other ones where there's drawings in the panel that the text is of a character, thinking about something, but then maybe, you could see it as, what is the character actually looking at? And I never thought about looking at a comic like that.
Well, since it's the first graphic novel I've ever read, I tried to pay attention. And, the light draws the eye. And there was definitely his clean white shirt and this baby, I think it was the baby's head that was white next to him. The first graphic, however, that we see, we see these dark images of purple and black Batman, and very, very sinister, very, very angry looking, very, very scary. But we also have this whole police blotter.
Oh, yep.
And that is such so anachronistic. It's like, if this is the big teeming urban landscape, then this little gossipy, police blotter is just kind of weird.
Yeah, like, I read that too. The Crime Blotter by Slam Bradley, which
I know these
like,
nicknames.
It's like, I've never heard of that. So I thought this was funny. This is 1987, before the internet. And now today, of course, satire or cynical news about news is just normal.
Yeah.
Normal life.
That's right.
Parody YouTube channels saying, like, and so of course the president just said, oops, sorry about that, and went home. Just kidding. He threatened to whatever. And so, there's 4 items in this crime blotter, where number 1 is a character, Vicky Vale, she's a news reporter in the video games and other comics, I guess. She gets arrested, but then gets out of it by winking at the judge.
So she's using her feminine wiles to get out. The casual sexism is pretty strong here, pretty offensive. Yeah. So Vicky Vale, she's a female. She shoplifts $11,000 worth of goods and gets off by pleading guilty and winking at the judge.
Though Vicky says, leave us say the dame knows how to wink.
Right, the dame.
So, like, that could be, who knows, that could be, so if this Slam Bradley of the 80s, he needs to write text that is appealing to this kind of noir audience, where dames are just manipulators and everyone's just hustling. But it's that strange blend of the past and the present that makes this so weird. Crime blotters are, silly. It's like something out of L.A. Confidential. Remember that movie? And there was this gossip columnist, And then that's exactly right.
Exactly like that. Yep. And then the next one is a 22-year-old drops her complaint of gang rape. And she's missing an index finger. The second one was a punk who robs a donut shop and walks out without, in front of cops without anything. Of course, donut shop and cops.
Yep.
And the last one is the mayor. And the mayor is he's focusing on ATM fees. Well, of course, they didn't have ATM fees in 1939. So they're so weird, this combination of old and new. And it just is jarring as we go through here.
Now, I thought that the gang rape one was, I don't know if this is the same time at all. It might have been totally different. But there was something where, like, Trump was putting out his own yellow news, like,
oh, really?
These 5 guys or whatever.
That New York, the New York Park, Central Park 5.
It was dropped, and then, or something, and then Trump himself was like, "No, they need the death penalty."
Yeah, he got very involved in that. Yeah, on a, I don't know the details, but yes, he was very involved. And they were, he was wrong.
It could be each of these ones are referencing to something from 1987. Maybe they're topical of that time, but it just seems like weird.
And they really don't have any relationship they really don't have any relationship to the story, except for the corrupt cops that let the punk get off from the donut shop. It's just this added little tidbit, just another demonstration of the corruption of the town. I think that's all it is. I don't know what else it is.
It could be, Frank Miller. He also wrote a comic series that became a movie called Sin City, which is totally noir, bad cops, bad guys, and women just caught in the crossfire, and I don't know, and LA Confidential. That's by a guy called what is his name? I forgot. I can't even remember. But
it's like that. It's got that same kind of small town feel that everybody knows the names of these people, and it's also part of the corruption that everybody knows these people are bad guys. They know their names, but they're still going around doing all their bad deeds.
Yeah, and finally, this crime blotter, the 4th one is about the mayor, and it's only like 5 sentences long, and it ends with, it complains about how he's trying to end ATM fees, like that's a priority, and he says, what a man, what a champ, what a town. Like the writer just gives up, like, what am I even doing with my life reporting on this?
Right.
Who do I even care about this?
Right, exactly.
And then the next page is young Bruce kneeling at his shot mother and father dead.
Right.
Which is the archetypal scene of Batman.
So apparently the movie they saw was The Mask of Zorro. Mm-hmm. And they came out of that movie and then got mugged and killed. So surely The Mask of Zorro must have been an influence into Batman's costume with the masked.
Yeah, they change. Like, I think they're pretty liberal with what movie it is they see. Oh. Like the cartoon version. The cartoon version is the movie they saw was some kind of like phantom James Bond character who wore a mask, and the cartoon tries to say that's what influenced him to become Batman.
Okay.
And in the cartoon, when he finds that guy, the voice is Adam West.
Oh really?
From the TV show. So they try to tie up all these ends. And then in the movie, Batman Begins, they're seeing Deflator Mouse, which is an opera.
Oh yeah.
Which means bat. Deflator Mouse.
Oh.
Winged mouse.
Okay.
Like mouse with wings. And so they do that. This is the thing. The intro says this is the difference. This is why Batman is just stands alone. The normal hero's journey is a boy usually is normal until he discovers, like, oh my god, I've got superpowers. Now what do I do? And he's given advice and rises to some epic occasion. But it's just the character is just given these powers. But Batman, he wanted to be a normal guy. He had a family. He's super rich, but he wanted just his parents. And then he had to become... He became the hero from tragedy. So that's like... the intro says that's not the normal
No, I don't
formula.
think it is. Yeah, and he's the Caped Crusader, right? Batman, or is that Superman?
Yeah. Cape Crusade. Yeah, that's Batman.
Batman, yeah. So he's on a crusade to, he's decided to fight crime. He's the best crime fighter ever, but it wasn't going to be easy. And that's his motivation, to fight crime. So I thought it was interesting when he decides to wade in. He decides to go to the bad part of town, but first he has to run the gauntlet, right? And he has to go through the, quote, leather boys. Well, that, of course, is, gay guys, and they're seen as evil. And
oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I think so. And yeah, I think that he runs this gauntlet of bad, non-masculine, non-paternalistic, dangers out there. And then through the junkies, so drug takers, right? And then what he calls human rubble. And those, they're described in 1939 terms, they're called winos, right?
Oh, yep.
They're alcoholics. So it's not, it's kind of updated, but kind of not. But I've just found the heavy paternalistic playbook a little hard to take, with all the bad, protecting the women, always protecting the children, except that, protecting his women, this Lieutenant Gordon, he smokes right in his wife's bedroom while she's sleeping. There's something connecting masculinity and smoking also. He's a man's man because he smokes Marlboros. And then she's pictured, her pregnant body is pictured in her underwear, just is pretty exploitative, I found.
Yeah, he has been criticized of misogyny in the something. I don't know if it's this one. But yeah, Gordon is he's half the book is Gordon, half the book is Batman. Mm-hmm. So it's, or maybe more, it might even be more Gordon.
It might be.
But he shows up and we know he's righteous. Mm-hmm. And is even skeptical that law can even work. Mm-hmm. If decent people just don't exist. And right. So we see him fall a little bit, and he's kind of he stumbles, or there's cracks in his decency. Like he gets tampered with. He gets infected with Gotham too, you could say.
Yeah, because he succumbs to Essen's charms. So Essen, his female assistant cop, right? She's the one that comes up with the two breakthroughs in the case, because she thinks of it in a different way and mentions these different ideas. And then, that sort of creates a break in the case. In the meantime, she's also emptying his ashtrays and not seducing him exactly, but he is falling to her wiles. They have that kiss in the rainy, of course, doorway.
Okay, whoa. Let's what's this case? What's going on here? So, and then so January 4th they both arrive. February 12th, a month later, they don't like Gordon because he doesn't bend when about whether it's bribes or looking the other way, things like that. And then March 11th, so already a third of the way into the year. Bruce goes out into the bad neighborhood and he gets his ass kicked. He gets wrecked by he confronts a pimp or something, sees a girl that's too young. Yep. And then he's ready to fight this one guy, but then is surprised when the young girl sticks a knife in his leg, and he actually gets shot by police in the shoulder, gets arrested, thrown in the car, which is, even today, it's shocking when you see on videos police shoot someone and they still just handcuff him and then wait for an ambulance to come, maybe. Mm-hmm. Then in the car, Bruce, he breaks the handcuffs, grabs the guy's face, wrecks the car, and then crawls out and saves the two guys. Because
they might have families.
Yeah, and then gets to his own car, leaving a blood trail, drives back home, crashes into his own other car, and makes it back. So his first attempt out is a total disaster. Meanwhile, the same day, Gordon gets his ass kicked by 4 other police with baseball bats, and he almost fights them, but then he gets taken out. But then Gordon actually confronts his partner, this guy Flass, who is in Batman Begins. They took that name from...
Oh, they did? Oh, okay.
Yep, he's the crooked cop in Batman Begins who Christian Bale throws off the roof over and over again.
He's the ringleader of the bad cops, right? And he's, and that's why Gordon gets beat up, because he's not a team player. He doesn't go along with the way things are done there, right? He's going to be a standout guy, and so he's going to get beaten down because he's not cooperating with the rest of the cops, taking bribes and being corrupt.
Yep. I mean, yeah, that's right. And the commissioner's name is Loeb, which is also in Batman Begins. And I don't think there's any reason why the movie would have to use those names. Like, you need Harvey Dent, you need Bruce, you need James Gordon, but you don't really need those other names. So I think that's where Christopher Nolan he definitely was looking at this book. And so Gordon finds Flass and kicks his ass with a bat to send a message back to him saying, like, you jump me, I'm going to jump you and humiliate you.
Humiliate was important. That was important to that scene. Also, he gives him a baseball bat, gives him a handicap, because Gordon knows he can beat him. Because Gordon apparently has Green Beret training also. He recognizes it in Flass. And, but he, in his, quest for fair play. So the two men are going on this journey. The two men, Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Gordon, they're both coming of age in their, career, so to speak. And so they have to come up against their obstacles and find their way. Seems to be of course, he's the older, the more experienced person. And he does get taken out by that gang of cops with baseball bats, but he waits. He goes after Flass 1-to-1, but he gives him a handicap because he knows he can beat him. And he does, and he humiliates him, right?
Yeah, but the guy, Flass, is drunk and did just crash his car. So I thought it was funny that he's like, he said, I'll give you a handicap. He gives him a bat, but if the guy's drunk, I don't know.
After a poker game, yeah.
Then it says chapter 2, which is called War is Declared. And so on April 4th, Gordon, they gets a call that there's a guy with hostages, and here's the name Brandon, which is like a SWAT team.
Yeah. Overzealous. Yeah, overzealous SWAT team, yeah.
Yeah, so you're given, I guess, foreshadowing that this guy is just a total, just like, we'll just go in guns a-blazing and just whatever happens. We have free license, which I thought that also went back to noir or LA style. Some movie said that LA had cops that were like Wild West, just shoot first, ask questions later.
Right. Yeah, it could be. And it could be that, a lot of police departments were corrupt. Some of them were famous for being corrupt.
Yep.
And, it's that, quote, thin blue line. We have this, and we're experiencing the same thing today, with the infiltration of law enforcement by white supremacists. And it's and you don't rat on your partner. It's all that kind of thing.
Yep. And Gordon walks in there. He just walks up to the guy, trying to say, like, I'm going to help you, but then just punches him. So Gordon just nakedly saves the day. Right. Meanwhile, Bruce he comes back to his house after that. He gets shot and knifed, and even thinks about quitting on the first day of his job, of his new career. And he's like, maybe Alfred can save me, but maybe I'll just sit here. What do I do? He calls to his dad. Dad, what do I do? Which is common. It's always like the parents die, but always when, like the movie did this too, Batman Begins, where it's like, oh, the dad is the main teacher or the main influence on him. Another thing why it's not just revenge, why he wants to avenge his parents, is that they talk up, different versions hype up the whole legacy of Wayne in Gotham. Like without the Waynes, there would be no Gotham. So it's almost kind of a thing where his parents were strong, and then Bruce is like the weak link, which is big in history, I guess, where you have to, being the weak link in a dynasty is just the most humiliating thing. So he has to do something.
Ah, okay. And also I see, he's not only rich, he's upper class, because legacy is part of that, and continuing the legacy. So it's almost like they own the city and he wants to save the city, because his family helped build the city. Is that it? You're saying from other sources?
Yeah, and also, like, even the movie says that when he was a boy, it was they're riding a train that the Waynes, I guess, helped to put together, and then when Bruce comes back as an adult, it's a total like disaster and just graffitied up. So it could say that after he left, after his parents died, then the mafia really moved in and just took over. So he has to like get rid of them. So that's why, yeah, it is weird how the mafia is a bad guy of Batman, but that's where it's pointed out how, like, because he wears a costume, then these other costume guys try to join in. So it's ambiguous if Batman actually triggered other supervillains like coming to town.
Well, I don't know. It's odd because of all the arch enemies are costumed like Catwoman, and what's coming up next is Joker and Penguin and all those people. They're oddly, peculiarly costumed villains too. Yep.
Oh, so, and then finally, so Bruce is thinking about, he's like, should I just give up? Do I just die here? And then a huge bat flies into his window, and that's another legendary thing. Like, was it a bunch of bats he saw? Like, the movie has it, he falls into a cave and he's surrounded by bats and realizes, like, oh, I can't just go in punching people expecting them to be, I have to, if I'm going to fight literally everyone, I have to give myself an advantage and make them scared as hell of me. So that's where he realizes, like, I got to become more than just a regular dude. I have to become like a monster.
Yeah. Well, back in the first chapter, he realizes at the end of the first chapter, before the next one, he realizes that he has to make the bad guys afraid. And I found that kind of interesting, that his chief tool is going to be fear. I found that kind of interesting. And so then he gets the whole Batman persona because it's scary and dark and hidden. Yeah. And stealthy. Okay.
Yeah. Like, he has to, the whole city, the good people are afraid of these bad guys, but they're not really that smart. There's just so many of them, and they're horrible. So they'll kill you. So Batman has to be even more like,
fight fire with
more
fire.
Fearsome.
Yeah, be more fearsome. Fight fire with fire. Yeah. No jobs, no, social safety net here, boys. You're just gonna be scary.
Yep. So I thought that was a funny parallel that Bruce is looking for an advantage. How do I become scary? Meanwhile, Gordon is walking in with no gun and saving the day.
Okay. All right.
April 5th, the next day, Gordon is practicing shooting, and he says he hates guns and he hates his job. And then Brandon also is complaining to the commissioner how Gordon just elbowed his way into the situation and wound up with all the hero points. And Gordon says again how I really don't want kids. He keeps like hammering that.
He keeps saying that. And the commissioner can't remove Gordon because the press is on his side.
Yep.
That it's all political, and it's not true and pure law enforcement. It's political. Yeah.
April 9th, there's a report of a giant bat, and it shows how Batman tries to take out 3 punks stealing a TV, and he thinks he can just show up and scare them all and then take them out. But he scares one so bad that one falls off this balcony. So now Bruce has like, this ruins my plan. He has to save that one guy. He's getting punched and kicked again, and then thankfully kicks the rest of them. And the final panel is him like resting with these 3 knocked out dudes, and he's like, he's like, oh my god.
And the one he saved,
can I even do this?
He tries to stop them, but he ends up saving one of them. Yeah, it's a trial and error for Batman, because he's young. He's like 25 or 20, something like that, right?
Yep.
He doesn't know.
In the movie, it shows the funny part is where he's wearing like a ski mask and breaks into Gordon's office, and then when he has to run away, Gordon's following him, and Bruce just jumps off the roof and grabs onto a fire escape, which kind of collapses, and he has to just pull himself up, and it's just like he can't just run around in a mask. He still needs more.
You need more.
So then here was a confusing part. So May 15th, they say there's 78 cases of bat attacks in the city, and Flass has a personal experience with it. He's wearing a neck brace, and his version is that he shows up at a place to single-handedly take out all these drug dealers, but in the picture it shows Flass there taking money from something.
Right,
so even the picture goes against it.
Right.
And then Batman shows up, and it shows them trying to they shoot him. It has no effect. And that he throws these bat boomerangs, which is a common legendary thing, but in this book he throws them and they stick into the people's skin and they fall asleep. So that's a new one. That's not typical.
Interesting. Yeah, they're on a crusade against Batman because he's a vigilante. And so, Gordon, the true and right powers that be, he sets up some kind of task force to try and take Batman down because he's outside the law.
Let's see. So then now Batman makes a move. So he shows up at the mayor's mansion, and he throws a smoke bomb in there and blows up a wall of the mansion and just gets in there and says, like, your time is over. Like, it's over for you guys.
Yeah.
And so now, what was it that they were discussing? Like, well, maybe Batman's good because if people feel good, then they're going to elect, then we'll take the credit. We'll be elected again. And other people say, like, yeah, but our drug things are getting screwed up and we're losing money, so we should probably get rid of him. But once Batman blows up the house, then the commissioner's like, you need to catch him, like, right now.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Because he threatens them. And that's overkill on Batman's part. Come on. So he did too little and then too much. Yeah.
There's another confusing thing. So June 2nd, or middle of the year, it shows a woman getting chased, and Batman's text saying there's a cop in the car, there's a cop on the sitting down. Gordon's wasting his time with all this effort. And I thought, like, what is he talking about? And do you remember that part?
No, I don't.
So it shows a woman being chased, and Batman, the final panel is him just like sitting there, and it's because the woman is like bait, and the people chasing are all police. And so they want Batman to step in so that they can all catch him.
Right, yeah.
But Batman knows the cops all by name. He says there's officer whatever's in the car. Officer, this guy's pretending to be homeless. So it doesn't work.
Yeah, so that's the introduction of Essen, the female cop that becomes Gordon's assistant. She's the decoy. Yeah, I figured that out. I have notes here now. I'm seeing police led by Gordon lay traps, but he doesn't fall for them. Yeah, he's too smart.
Yeah, I had to read that like 2 times or 3 times.
And then there's that whole, drop the bomb on the derelict building and all that. That was a very, very confusing. In fact, I have some notes here. He goes down in the basement, and then he goes up on the roof, and then then there's a picture of him under the stairs, and I had thought he was it was very confusing, but that was just all part of a huge blow up here with Batman's involvement. Yeah,
so that's a good point. So finally, Gordon and Batman's paths cross directly, and before, Harvey Dent has been showing up, and actually Gordon interviews him like, are you Batman? Come on. And then and after Gordon leaves, it shows Batman's hiding in Dent's office. So Dent is working with Batman. And so now they're sitting and they're driving home, and a truck is out of control. A truck is going to kill someone. Right. And so Gordon tries to jump onto the truck, but he knows it's too late. And Batman swoops in and saves the homeless person. And when
the old lady,
when Gordon wakes up, his partner Essen has the gun on him, and Gordon's like, oh, yes, we have to get him, but he just saved that person who I failed at saving. And then, Batman he stops her and runs away into a building. And so he calls for backup. And once the backup gets to the commissioner sends in that military guy. Mm-hmm. Just kill that guy, no matter what. And so Batman gets shot in the leg. He's trying to climb away, and they see helicopters are coming in to just napalm this entire building.
Yeah, it's a big military operation. Yeah.
Yeah, and that I thought was, of course, the fantastic fictional part of comics, but it probably is a feeling that people feel about the urban deterioration. We're like, can't we just blow all these people up? I mean, we're blowing up other countries. Can we just wipe out? There's a scene in The Wire where a cop says that we should just white phosphorus this entire block, or just napalm to hell.
Yeah.
So that's where Batman's in there after saving a person, and you realize, like, oh my god, of course Batman's the good guy and these cops are the bad guys.
Yeah. It's just in all the confusion and the powers operating against each other, and then car chases, rescues, motorcycles, all this stuff. And isn't this where Batman tries his secret thing to attract the bats to come to? Doesn't he kind of call the bats to him?
Oh, that is true. Lifted right from this book into Batman Begins by Christopher Nolan. He even the movie even shows it, the exact same panel where Batman pulls it out of the heel of his boot.
Oh my!
Because the fire lights his belt on fire, which has most of his stuff, but he's got this thing, and he's got some tranquilizer darts in his shoe. And so he's been running away so long that it's now morning time. And so the light is coming, and Batman says something like, a cat, he sees a cat, and the cat's shadow, our shadows are shrinking, which is his main advantage. If you can't see me, or if I can scare you, then that's how I'm going to win. But the sun is out. He then becomes a regular guy, or is even more noticeable. So then he calls the bats, and you might think he just calls them to freak everybody out, but the way it was drawn, the bats are covering the sun. It's almost like he can make it night again. He can make it like dark again.
That could be, because my notes say the bats camouflage him. But yeah, well, he is a creature of the night. Like bats are creatures of the night. So I see. So they block out the sun so he can escape, because he still wants to maintain his hidden identity. Yeah, that I think the way it was drawn, maybe that's what it's supposed to be, because just a million bats come, and just, of course, everybody's freaked out. And he says a joke. He says to himself, he says, I wish I could sell this thing, because I'd make a fortune. Then again, I already have a fortune. Yeah.
As he's trying to like dodge bullets, he throws the cat out of the building. And the cat jumps to Selina, who we know is Catwoman.
Yeah. So she's in the very, very beginning, huh?
Yep.
And she's an enemy, kind of, but not an arch enemy. What is her role exactly? Catwoman.
I could see that probably without her, it's all men. It's all men jumping around.
That's for sure.
she in the very first scene, in the first beginning part where he goes to that bad area and the little girl stabs him, she is her protector. She's like a senior sex worker.
Right.
And
it sort of foreshadows this, Selina and Holly sort of foreshadows Batman and Robin.
Maybe.
Because they're kind of a pair. One's younger than the other. And Selina takes care of her.
Yeah, and she's got a ton of cats. Yeah, that totally was taken from this book. And I should probably look it up, but I don't know if Mark Miller got any credit, because it's totally, I don't know if you could say that's plagiarism. Or another funny thing was it says, the commissioner says, get after him or I'll have you shot. Like he says to his soldiers. It says in total there's 5 dead winos, 4 SWAT members are in the hospital. Every SWAT member is vaccinated for bat bites.
Right.
And then it's just one cop car even drove off of a pier chasing the bats because they thought Batman was in the bats.
That was Loeb's car. That was Loeb's. Loeb drives off the pier.
Well, I think he was in a helicopter.
Oh, okay. That's right. I have a note about a helicopter. Loeb is in helicopter. That's right. Somebody else drives off the pier. That's my mistake.
Yeah.
It was a massive confusion. I couldn't keep it all straight.
Yeah, that was but that was definitely in the movie the most like epic part where he is breaking into Arkham Asylum, I think, and the Scarecrow is in there.
Oh, wow.
And then a million cops come and he has to call for backup. And that was where in the movie Batman Begins the theme music really just like punches you in the head when like a million bats show up.
Oh. Okay.
And then he has to drive away in his car and it was like everybody's like, "Oh my god," becomes a Batman super fan.
Yeah. So you're much more schooled in the whole Batman legend than I am. I'm not. I don't know all these other things.
Well, it's a thing now because of the Christopher Nolan movies. Like the other ones were kind of a joke with like Val Kilmer and like George Clooney. Mm-hmm. So, and then they're still trying to make Batman movies with like Ben Affleck, but they're not like good. Mm. So the Christopher Nolan ones are
okay. Those are the definitive ones. Okay.
So here's another scene is Gordon is, you said his wife is in the bed, pregnant, and he's sitting on the edge of his bed holding his gun. And I thought that's pretty clear. He's thinking about suicide.
He's thinking about suicide, yeah.
I think it's from the end of this chapter. This chapter is called Black Dawn, the whole firebombing, napalming. It's because he knows that he's this one guy, they're blowing up buildings, and the Batman's the only thing who seems to be actually affecting good things, and he's just like, again, like, what am I even doing? Is this even possible? Because
he's in a dilemma. He's a law-abiding law enforcement officer, and Batman's operating outside the law. He's a vigilante. So, he's going to come to terms with that, realize that they have to team up and help each other. But he's in a dilemma because he does feel alone and swimming against the tide, totally. Yeah.
So the next chapter is called A Friend in Need. Mm-hmm. And it starts off with Essen saying, "Let me give you this bracelet. You can give it to your wife." And so that suggests that I guess Gordon got her a present, like, "You're my girlfriend." And he's like, no, you keep it. So I guess that means they broke up on September 2nd. So now almost a year is coming to the ending part.
There was this whole Essen thing was very convenient and it was really bad taste, I felt. I mean, he's got this pregnant wife at home that he professes to want to protect throughout from the first page. And then, he's just being attracted to this Essen. It was really weird. I think it's just, I suppose it's chinks in the armor. I don't know. Is that what you think? It's just showing him to be having some weaknesses, or he's really only human and he can't do this all alone.
Yeah, I remember a show on HBO called True Detective where it's like Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey are detectives, and they see like horrible murders and they're just like, oh my god. And so then he has to come home and his kids are there, and his wife wants him to be more happy to be home. Mm-hmm. And Woody Harrelson's like, you can't even imagine like what I saw today. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he says something like, today I saw like a baby in a microwave or whatever. And she's like, oh my god. Yeah. And so I think it's typical police have to either drink a lot, which is what the other guy does, Matthew McConaughey. He's just like constantly drinking, I think. And they justify it as like, it helps keep me sharp, or it somehow strengthens me or whatever. And then, but it's also common that because Woody Harrelson gets a girlfriend and then they break up, but that seems pretty like stock.
Yeah.
For the cop who's like way overwhelmed but doesn't even know how to articulate the trauma he's in.
Right, because they're just traumatized on a daily basis. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I get that. I thought it was, a pretty big weakness, and a pretty trite weakness, I thought, and also just kind of convenient. And then also she has to transfer. Then, she has the two ideas about the breaks in the case and comes up with these two alternatives. And then she's the one that has to transfer because he's got seniority. It's kind of, I don't like it. Anyway.
Yep. Well, he's a main character.
He is a main character. You're right.
She's just made up.
Right.
So then, here's a cool thing. So then a guy that Gordon caught, sent to jail, gets out on bail, and that really pisses him off. And so this guy's name is Skeevers, and so he gets out on bail. He confronts Dent, like, "What are you doing?" Like, pretty, angrily. But then it comes clear that they let him out because Skeevers works with Flass, and Flass, of course, works for the commissioner. So they let him out so that Batman can intimidate the shit out of him. And jumps in a window and just crawls all over him, saying, like, what does he say? He says, like, no, says, "No one can help you. I can find you, like, anywhere."
Oh, God.
Anywhere. And so then Skeever's like, "I want a plea deal. I'm going to give you information. I'm going to cooperate." So, that's the Batman working with the law.
Working with the law. Is it his lawyer who says to Skeevers, "It's bad enough that you're black, wear a suit"? I have that note.
Yeah. That was his, female lawyer.
Smile at the jury members, especially the women. She's giving him, her best legal advice here.
Yeah. What is that? Just.
Yep. That's what Batman overhears. Yeah. Just more casual sexism, and racism. It's just, we're all being schooled on the institutional racism, and there it is.
Also, the commissioner reveals that he has pictures of him and Essen.
Mm-hmm.
And so that stresses him out, but he does the good. He actually tells his wife, like, "I was dating someone."
Yeah, he does. He tells his wife. He fesses up.
Yes.
And then gets presented a baby boy.
Oh, yep. So now we're in the end game here. Actually, he has a daughter. In all other stories, he has a daughter named Barbara, but in this book, his wife's name is Barbara.
Oh, really? Well, that's interesting. I wonder why they decided to do that.
Yeah, usually there is no wife, I think. It's just
he's married
he's a solo
to the job.
dad.
Oh.
Yeah, no wife, and his daughter is like a genius, and she actually becomes Batgirl.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
They have to keep secret from Gordon, that she's now in the Bat team.
So in the Batman lore, and so it's the mafia that takes over Gotham City. Is that it? Is that who this Roman is? I didn't know where these people came from.
Yeah, I don't know,
because I thought the institutions were corrupt, but I guess they're in league with the mafia or something.
Yeah, the Roman, I've never heard of him before, but he's a mafia guy, and it shows his house has some kind of rooftop spa, and there's statues in there, and one of them definitely has the hand gesture of a Julius Caesar statue that, like, still exists. So this guy might just be he might be Italian, I don't know, and he might just be a Rome super fan. But yeah, he's part of it, the whole deal of sharing money, facilitating crime with the commissioner.
Got the commissioner in his pocket. So it's just all part of the corruption. Yep.
And it winds up the most dramatic part of the whole thing. The most
dramatic part.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought, like, I was like, whoa. And it just shows how, like, whoa, this is could turn the trajectory of a whole character, of a whole popularity from this one story where...
Well, isn't this the kidnap?
Yeah, so Gordon gets a call. Commissioner says, "Go here." He's like, "It's not my job." He's like, "Go there anyway." He's like, "Okay, fine." So he goes at night, and as he drives away, someone on a motorcycle almost crashes into him. And so he says, what the hell? He looks back. The motorcycle's going into his building.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, who is that? So he U-turns it back in there.
Right.
And he sees his baby in a car with a knife up to him from some goon. And they drive away. And then he hears the motorcycle start again, and Gordon shoots him. And then Gordon takes the motorcycle and chases after him.
It's really confusing, yeah.
Yeah, so then you realize the wife, Gordon tells his wife, like, call the cops, call somebody, I'm going after him. And his wife, Barbara, holds the gun on the motorcycle guy, and you can't see his face, but the motorcycle guy says, like, I'm not going to let them hurt your son, I have to go. Mm-hmm. And that's when you realize that's Bruce.
Yeah, that's Bruce, right.
And because it's daytime, he's not in the bat suit. He goes out on a motorcycle, which is from Christopher Nolan, The Dark Knight, where in the daytime, Bruce Wayne goes out to find out about the Joker. He takes a motorcycle.
Oh, so it is daytime. Okay.
Yeah. Alfred says, will you be wearing your tights? And Bruce says, never in the daytime.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I see. Okay. That was the only spot of humor that I found in this whole thing. He's doing one-handed push-ups, and there's a little bit of humor there. Will you be wearing your tights? Okay. So that's why there's a mailman outside, because I thought that was a discrepancy. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Also, we are surprised because earlier in the book, when Bruce is going home shot and stabbed from the bad neighborhood after the cop car blows up, he almost crashes into Gordon the first time. Mm-hmm. So they cross cars, and Gordon's like, what the hell? That's Bruce Wayne. I should give him a ticket.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then that's where they first literally cross paths, but don't actually meet. And then now, the second time they cross in vehicles, Gordon and we think it's a bad guy. Think it's like, oh, I get it. They called me away so they can go after my family. Here it comes. Here's the thing I've been worried about ever since I showed up here on this frickin' train. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. And it's happened.
And then, so Gordon gets on the motorcycle, drives after them, and Bruce jumps on a bicycle.
Right.
He jumps on a road bike after getting shot.
Oh, yeah. Because shooting them never stops them. Yeah. And they go in pursuit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's wearing some, like, bulletproof vest or something. But Gordon shoots out the tires of the bad guy with the baby.
Right.
The baby crashes. They scuffle with it. And Bruce, in the background, you can see, jumps from the bike up into the bridge framework. And as everybody leans too far over the edge, Bruce dives off and catches the baby, where luckily there's no water. It's like muddy ground. And then Gordon lands on the bad guy, and the bad guy is knocked out. And Gordon says, like, yeah, I can't, I'm blind without my glasses, so you should probably go. So to say that he doesn't know it's Bruce, he doesn't know it's Batman. Mm-hmm. And so this again was lifted by Christopher Nolan into Batman Dark Knight when Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face. He wants to get revenge on Gordon. He kidnaps his wife and son. In the movie, it's a son, which is not the normal thing. And then they play like Russian roulette to kill his Gordon's son.
Oh my God.
And then in the end, Batman pushes them all off. Or something. He saves the son by falling off the edge of a building.
Oh my God.
Of a building framework.
So you believe that with the Dark Knight, is it the Dark Knight movie that you're talking about, Christopher Nolan, all the time?
Yeah, Batman Begins is the first one and Dark Knight's the second one.
Oh, okay. So he did those two.
Yeah,
and you think that he must have consulted or lifted from this, probably with their permission.
Both of them have total scenes from this book.
Ah, okay. All right.
Oh, and then of course the final scene of Batman Begins is that so Gordon is on the roof and the bat signal is there, so now it's evident we're working together.
Yep.
He said a friend is coming because a new guy called the Joker is coming.
Right.
And that is exactly in the end. That is the end of Batman Begins, where he says, you're wearing a mask and other bad guys are coming. Like, for example, this guy. and he shows a Joker playing card. And Batman's like, "Oh, we'll get him."
Yeah.
And then that's the foreshadowing to the sequel Christopher Nolan movie.
Right. And that's exactly how this graphic novel ends. The Joker is, the next, he's going to be the next episode of the sequel. Yeah.
So in the end, it starts with Gordon, it ends with Gordon, with him smiling, saying meaning oh, I think actually we might have a chance here.
Because they team up, because they can team up. So there's this parallel journey that these two men have. Young man, Batman, who can't do it alone, and Gordon, who can't do it alone, in spite of his experience and being on the right side of the law. They can depend on each other to fight crime in the future. Yeah.
Yep. So.
And it does fit the film noir. That's all part of the darkness. It does. Also, it's significant that these two men are outsiders. So, Gordon's coming into town, and Bruce Wayne is returning to town after a long absence, but they're both kind of outsiders. They're outside. So Gordon is literally from outside Gotham, and he's also outside the group of policemen that he won't go along with. And Batman, Bruce Wayne, high class, he's outside anyway. And he's also outside the law in his vigilante career. Yeah.
This is noir, I guess. You're actually, when the bad guys have no rules and you have rules, of course they're going to win.
Yeah, right.
So you need someone who's righteous who can kind of threaten breaking the rules and then not get in trouble when they do. Because if you're police and you even get caught saying you're going to do something, that's still breaking the rule.
Because it's kind of interesting, this is what you've got is a classic dilemma of the ends justifying the means. He is a vigilante. He is outside the law, but because he basically cleans up the town, then it's okay. That it's not just or fair or right. You depend on the individual person to. It's interesting. It's an interesting solution to a problem because it's not democratic, it's personality, and it's not within the law, and it's also violates that end not justifying the means. It's kind of difficult, this whole scenario.
Yep. It's that's why he has to be incorruptible, and he just or else then he becomes a bad guy. That's his whole thing. People say the Joker murders people all the time. Just kill him. Then you can retire. But he always has to be well, no, if I do that, then it's then yeah, I'm a bad guy. It has to be this way.
Yeah, you can't. Well, you don't want to sink to his level, but he doesn't mind going outside the law and be judge, jury, and executioner.
Yep.
That's not the rule of law as we Americans believe.
So that's going to do it. I thought this was the art was really awesome. The artist and the colorist are actually husband and wife.
Oh.
And I thought it was cool how it totally does look vintage, where faces are just lines, and there's no there's just no great detail, but
and yet there's a lot of detail, because you can see in some parts graffiti, and you can see the interior of that train. I thought was highly detailed.
But the colors were kind of in the old way, where there would just be no real
Black
separation of colors between something.
Okay. All right.
Yep, that's Mark Miller. He also did the comic book to the movie 300 about those Spartan warriors, which became a huge hit for that guy Zack Snyder. That was he's a famous name now, I think, because of that movie with the glistening rock hard pectoralises of those Spartan warriors. Have you heard of that?
But the Spartan warrior, he was a Scottish guy. What's his name?
That guy's name is Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
But
who's the guy you're talking about?
Zack Snyder.
Was he an actor in the movie?
No, he's the director.
Oh, director. Okay.
But he read 300 was another book by this guy, Mark Miller.
Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah, and that had comic book effects. That was good. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He did Sin City, 300, maybe another one. I don't know.
Well, I thought this was interesting. Reading a graphic novel is kind of interesting. And comic book characters in general are usually, I think, two-dimensional, usually just good or bad, right? But these had a little bit of nuance to them. I thought it was still, pretty heavy-handed and not very nuanced, but it was a little bit. And so I'm glad I read it because I hadn't read a graphic novel before, but I don't think I'm going to go run off to the store or anything to get a bunch of them.
Yep. Yeah. He is. I always like Spider-Man just because of the, it's more, I don't know, fun to imagine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Batman is like, will always be just, there's going to be another Batman movie. Like Ben Affleck is done. I think they came to their senses. Like this is just silly. But now, the vampire guy from Twilight or whatever is going to be the next Batman.
Oh, really? I don't understand his. Well, I guess Superman doesn't have too much appeal because he's two-dimensional, and so Batman, because is he also called the Dark Lord, or is that somebody else?
He's called the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight. So, because of that darkness, it makes him a little bit more interesting. And, those 12 missing years, you can fill in, is sort of a Christ story, right? But you can fill in with almost anything. There's a lot of depth to be plumbed there, I think, for Batman.
Yep. In the movie Batman Begins, that's where he winds up with his ninja teacher called Ra's al Ghul, who's a real bad guy. And the teacher becomes the nemesis.
Oh, really?
In the movie.
Oh my. Okay. Well, it was interesting to read this. I have issues with just some of the dated things, and also some of the the sexism and that kind of thing. It's kind of hard for me to watch, but it was interesting to read.
Yep,
quick.
Yeah,
quick.
It is weird. Yeah, you don't really know when it is. It's from 1987. But if I thought of this, if the kid Bruce saw Mask of Zorro, like when did that come out? And then so if that's a black and white 1930s movie, does that mean this is 1942 or something? If 12 years later. So yeah. But who even knows?
Well, they play with the truth.
Well, we are way over.
We are way over, but that's because I had a coughing fit in the middle of it. We have to edit that out. But
yep.
Our next book will be Nomadland. And that's a contemporary book. That's modern. And so there shouldn't be any, and there is a movie out about it, but I wanted to read the book because I wanted to see what it was like. And it's a contemporary social issue. So that's the next book we'll be reading. Do we have a date at all?
Nope.
Not
I don't
yet.
know.
We'll figure that out. We'll figure that out. TBA.
Yeah, it depends on how fast I can read it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
me too.
So we will catch you next time on what's it called? Book Talk, reading books with Mariana and Joe. This is Joe signing off.
Signing off from Tahoe.
See you then.